What do you know about your name? Some of our names have stories or come from ancestors. Some of us love our names, some not so much. Some of us choose names to fit ourselves better. Many of our trans siblings leave a name behind and take on a new one to claim their full identity. Some become known by a beloved nickname. Our names are important. They are rarely random. We know what it feels like when someone who loves us calls us by name, and we know that feeling of being called by our full name, usually meaning we're in trouble. My father adored his mother. She died while he was in college, and he didn't talk about her very much. My grandfather later remarried, and that grandmother, this was before I was born, that grandmother was one I loved, so I never thought much about my dad's mother. And one day, All Saints' Day, when I was at Emory University in seminary, I remember walking across the chapel and literally stopping in my tracks when I realized that I was not the first Sue Joiner. My dad's mother was named Effie Sutah, and she went by Sue. My given name is Sue, just Sue, not Susan. Please don't call me Susan. I don't like it. But at this moment, when I realized I wasn't the first one, I felt this deep connection to someone who had gone before me, and it gave me a sense of belonging to something significant, a beloved ancestor. Even though I didn't know her, there was a connection there. There's power and there's hospitality in knowing someone's name. Some of you remember the old TV Cheers show with a theme song that said, "Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You want to be where you can see our troubles are all the same. You want to be where everybody knows your name." Now, it's funny, that's about a bar in Boston, but I would say it could well describe a church. A church is a place to be welcomed as you are. A church is a place where each person makes a difference. A church, we discover we are all carrying burdens. A church is a place to care for one another and share the journey. A church is a place to learn one another's unique names, but it's also a place to remember our shared name, God's beloved child. A church is a place to remember who we are and to whom we belong. A name in Genesis revealed one's essential character and sometimes one's destiny. Knowing someone's name meant knowing something about that person. The name Jacob meant to follow. Jacob and his brother Esau were twins who were fighting while they were still in the womb. Esau was born first, and Jacob came out holding on to Esau's heel. He trades Esau his birthright for a bowl of soup. Jacob deceives their father Isaac into blessing him by wearing a goat skin and pretending to be the firstborn son. Esau finally reaches his limit and threatens to kill Jacob. So in the story today, Jacob is running for his life. He leaves his family and possessions on one side of the stream, and then he crosses over to spend the night alone. Esau is on his way to meet him with 400 people. Yes, Jacob is incredibly vulnerable at this point. Things get really interesting when a person shows up in the night and wrestles Jacob until daybreak. It's clear that this is not a one-sided wrestling match. Jacob's opponent strikes his hip and leaves him with a limp. The match reaches an impasse as day approaches, and Jacob will not, yet again, loosen his grip. Jacob is wrestling with God. In this moment in the story, they needed each other. God needs Jacob to let go before daylight. Jacob needs to be blessed. The blessing he got from his father Isaac was stolen. He needs God to bless him and validate him. Yes, even this guy who would steal from his father and brother needs a blessing. Before blessing Jacob, God gives him a new name, Israel. Israel means God strives. The new name was a form of blessing for one who valiantly wrestled with God. The story goes on to say that God blessed Jacob. We all need to be blessed. I'm guessing most of you have never covered yourself in sheepskin and stolen your brother's birthright or his blessing. But I'm also guessing all of us have done something that we're ashamed of and wish we could have erased. It's here that we recognize our shared vulnerability. It's here that we acknowledge that this is what it looks like to be human. Our shared humanity is less in our strength and more in our vulnerability. It's more than a little strange to think of an all-night wrestling match with God in the physical sense. But late-night spiritual wrestling with God is something many of us have experienced. We may feel a bit put off by the idea that God would wrestle with us. And when I think of common images of God, wrestler never makes the top 10. Yet, there's something to this. God hangs in there with us when we're struggling. God keeps vigil with us through the darkness of night, whether it's 8 hours, 8 months, or 8 years. God stays with us through it all. God blesses us even when we've made bad choices. God is persistent in relationships and never walks away. When I let that sink in, it takes my breath away. There are some wonderful humans who walk with us in our most difficult nights and who don't abandon us when we're lost or afraid. These folks embody a God who will stay with us no matter what we have done, no matter who we have hurt, no matter how selfish we have been. In Jacob's story, we see a God who will not withhold a blessing from anyone. This blessing from God is transformative. The next scene in the story is the meeting of Esau and Jacob. They are reconciled, and Jacob is forgiven. Jacob no longer runs from his brother as a scoundrel, but walks beside him. Jacob sees the face of God in Esau, who graciously receives him. This story could have ended badly. Instead, Jacob is given a new start with God's blessing. Jacob no longer runs in fear, but meets his brother and is profoundly transformed by grace. What about you? Do you know this story as your own? I'm deeply humbled by a story of blessing and transformation. I reflect on the times in my own life when I have felt vulnerable and exposed. In the middle of the night, it is even more lonely and scary. Am I right? Yes. Somehow, in those places of utter despair, God comes to us and stays with us. I suppose it looks something like a wrestling match at times. The church is in the blessing business. It's what we do in ways that are public and sometimes ways that are almost invisible. Philip Newell says we should be blessing each other all the time. I think of the many people who have blessed me on this journey. I have offered these saints my brokenness, and they have blessed me and sent me out stronger and more whole. I keep thinking about you and the ways that you bless one another. I think of a woman named Nancy who was a high school teacher who blessed so many kids, especially the ones that everyone else had given up on. One kid was really tough. He was a drug dealer, and everybody was afraid of him. Nancy was like this tall, but she cared about him, and he knew it. When they showed up at the prom, this tough kid and his gang walked into the prom first to create a wide berth for Nancy, as if to say, "Don't mess with her. She's a good one. If you mess with her, you mess with me." And nobody wanted to mess with him. I don't know what happened to that kid, but I know wherever he is now, he is assured that this woman loved him, and it changed him. It changes us to be loved, to be blessed. Jesus blessed those who were closest to him. He blessed those who were on the fringes and rejected by society. Jesus understood the power of blessing to transform. In the reading this morning, Jesus feels compassion for the people who are hurting and who are hungry. He had gone off alone to grieve the murder of John the Baptist and found himself surrounded by people with needs. So he walked among them, caring for them, healing them, and when it was evening and time for dinner, he fed them. But notice what he did. He didn't grab a few things and say, hocus pocus. Instead, he told his disciples, you feed them. The disciples were baffled by this. How in the world are they going to feed thousands of people with 5 loaves and 2 fish? Jesus takes what they have gathered, and what does he do? He blesses it. Then he breaks the loaves and gives them to the disciples to share. Everyone eats, and there are 12 baskets of leftovers. That's what blessing does. Barbara Brown Taylor says the danger of calling this story a miracle is that it lets us off the hook. If we do that, we can just be happy and let God take care of everything. But note that Jesus called the disciples to do the feeding. We are called to do the same. One of the projects I'm excited right now is the Comida Recipe Project. The ingredients for a recipe for 3 people cost less than $10. Our goal is to collect 100 bags of recipes. Can you hear Jesus saying, you give them something to eat? We're preparing to offer meals for a week for Family Promise. The families in this program are trying to get their lives on track, and every quarter we go in for a week and we offer them meals and gift cards. Our week is coming up on August the 9th. Fortunately, we have all those meals covered. But listen, can you hear Jesus saying, you give them something to eat? Our efforts to feed others are blessed by God. In blessing, we are confirmed to the image of God. In blessing, we are strengthened for the journey ahead. Jacob's story isn't ancient history. It is true for us now in our most difficult days and nights. God meets us in our vulnerability and keeps vigil with us. God calls us by name, blesses us, and prepares us for the path that lies before us. In the blessing, we are liberated to bless others. Blessing means an infusion of holiness. It is something that cannot be contained. It flows through us and out to all that we meet. We are indeed blessed. May we open our hearts and pour out that blessing to the whole world. Amen.